prime time on the top game, it's a fine line. Man in the match, that's Daveye, he's the main guy, keep a close eye. Make sure you don't make no wrong play, cause I'm with Jose and Andre. And when Cyrus comes to walk in, you better know that you are watching Premier League. Daveye, tell him what time we on, what time we on. Prime time, let me hear you say Premier League. Daveye, tell him what time we on, what time we on.
Hello and welcome to Season 3 of Premier League Primetime. The Fab Four are back. Of course, what better than to start off the Premier League season, or should I say, which is roughly around the corner, starting on Friday, where Arsenal take on Crystal Palace. Of course, with my co-hosts, the legends themselves, Jose, Sirius, and Andre. How are you all doing? Yep, I could see some things haven't changed, and they probably will not change. But let's just get right into this. Of course, we look at the top 6 clubs, and they've done business. We'll start off with Arsenal. We'll start off with you, Sirius. As per usual, Arsenal have made some signings. Of course, the big one, or the biggest headliner of them all, from Manchester City, £45 million. I remember you saying that on the season finale of season 2 that you believe that they will get this deal done. Gabriel Jesus from Manchester City for roughly £45 million plus £5 million in add-ons, approximately £50 million. It's been very sharp this preseason. Marquinhos coming in from Sao Paulo. I think he's a left winger from Brazil, £3 million. Matt Turner, that deal was done in January, but he's arrived this summer for £8 million. The US men's national team goalkeeper from the New England Revolution. Fabio Vieira, a central midfielder. I'd say whether he's a number 8, number 6, he's flexible, £35 million from FC Porto. And the latest signing, of course, Alexander Zinchenko, £32 million from Manchester City. Sirius, what are your thoughts on Arsenal's transfer dealings so far? Do you think more is needed, or do you think maybe perhaps players need to be shipped out the door? How would you say that Arsenal have done so far this transfer window?
Yeah, I think we've done really well, better than a lot of other transfer windows we had. Gabriel Jesus has been great preseason. Obviously, preseason doesn't mean everything, but I think he's going to be good for us for sure. I think him replacing Lacazette is a big upgrade for sure. No disrespect to Lacazette. I thought he was good the first couple years, but he fell off a little bit. As for the other signings, I think they have potential. I'm really happy with Zinchenko. I probably said that wrong. I think that gives competition for Tierney, who, of course, is a great left back, but just has a lot of injuries. So while it's good competition for Tierney, it's also good that he's here to, replace Tierney when he's injured. As for the other signings, I think all three have potential. They're not going to be starting, obviously. Probably most excited for Marquinhos. But with Fabio Vieira, former FC Porto president, said that it was a big mistake for Porto to let him go. So you never know. I'm excited. I think these two Man City signings were great. I think honestly we need a center midfielder still. Because if Xhaka or Partey go down or whatever, I don't really like our replacements, El Neni and Lokonga. I think Lokonga's been good this preseason, but I still don't think he's the best replacement. I think someone like Tielemans can come in, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. But yeah, I'm still happy. So
Yeah, I'd say the same. I think Arsenal have done well. I think they need just a little more. Andre, you have something to say?
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for the Gabriel Jesus transfer. I've seen a lot of North London supporters of Tottenham and Arsenal comparing the Richarlison signing and the Gabriel Jesus signing. I'm not. I think they got kind of the better deal. I think Jesus is going to be perhaps a bigger club legend than Aubameyang in a few years. I think Jesus is going to be a really good signing when we look back at it.
100%. I think this is a great signing. I think for £45 million, I think Arsenal have themselves an absolute steal. I think he's 25 years of age. So a contract right up until he turns 30. I think this is a great signing. Jose, thoughts on Arsenal's overall window?
Well, I think I've made some of my thoughts clear in the chat, but I don't like Gabriel Jesus as a player. I think he's very overrated. I think he doesn't know how to play striker and he doesn't know how to play left wing. I don't like him. I think he's a versatile player off the bench, and that's about it. I wouldn't start him in any game against a good team ever. Um, I like the Zinchenko signing. I think he's a very versatile player. Can play left back or center mid. I would definitely sign him for my club if I could, and I rate that signing. Um, I am excited for Arsenal a bit for some of the other signings. I think some of the other signings have a lot of promise, which is good. But I think that they still need some proper world-class players. I think it's like they have Saka. Saka's great, but I think that to take them into the, I mean, I won't give anything away, but to take them to the next level, I think they need some world-class signings, and then they haven't made those yet.
Yeah,
I mean, they
sure.
legitimately have nobody that's like captain material. I know they just made Odegaard
Yeah,
captain.
they appointed
Yeah.
Odegaard as the captain, Martin Odegaard, and by the way, big up Jose for the PLPT polo, and merchandise will be out soon, very very soon. Had a lot of people ask me questions about that. It will be out soon, so big up the polo he's got on at the moment. But before we move on to Manchester City, you bring up a good point, both you Jose and Andre, about Martin Odegaard and the captaincy. Sirius, do you think that was the right move or choice by Arteta? Apparently, it was a vote to the players and Arteta unanimously agreeing that Martin Odegaard should receive the captaincy. Do you think that was the right appointment, or do you think someone else would have been better? Maybe perhaps your boy Granit Xhaka.
No, I think Jock had his chance. That didn't work out. I think I'm fine with it, to be honest. He was the captain of his nation before. He has experience with it. Sure, maybe he's a little young, but we've had young captains in the past, and a lot of the times at Arsenal, the captains have been our star players like Fabregas and
Jack Wilshere.
see. Okay.
True, very true. Captain material, Jack Wilshere. And look, I think that more is to come from Arsenal. I agree they do need more, but I think they've had a great start. Moving on to Manchester City, and of course the big signing. Of course, everyone's known about this. Erling Haaland, 50 million release, £50 million release clause has been activated from Borussia Dortmund. He's here. Whether one could say he's arrived in the Premier League just yet or not, who knows? After not a great performance in the Community Shield, but I think he'll hit the ground running soon enough. Stefan Ortega replacing Zach Steffen as the number 2 goalkeeper on a free transfer from Arminia Bielefeld, and Calvin Phillips of Leeds United, £50 million from Leeds for the English international. Jose, thoughts on Manchester City's transfer window? Do you think they've done enough? Do you think they've done well? Has the recruitment been right? Or just overall thoughts on the matter?
I mean, I think they've had an excellent window. I think all of last season, I was saying that they need a striker. They need a striker because I think that they had a real problem scoring against great teams. If you look at Real Madrid in the Champions League, the match they lost in the very last minute. You think about in the previous game, if they had brought in Calvin Phillips instead of bringing in Fernandinho, maybe they wouldn't have conceded the ridiculous goal to Vinicius Jr. Maybe they wouldn't have conceded goals to Benzema because they have a proper player in there instead of an aging CDM, can't run back, can't track Vinicius. So I think they covered their tracks really well with Calvin Phillips, and then obviously Erling Haaland. I think it's going to be an excellent signing for them. I think he's going to be there for, probably at least 3 years. Maybe he'll leave for like Real Madrid after that or something. But I think he's going to be a staple in the Premier League for the next 3 years, and it's going to be a great signing for them.
Yeah, I think Calvin Phillips is a great signing. Whether one wants to pay £50 million or not, I mean, he is English, so of course that English tax will come into play. Serious, Andre, any quick thoughts about Manchester City's transfer window? Do you think they perhaps needed more? Obviously, they've lost Raheem Sterling, they've lost Gabriel Jesus, regardless of whether Jose rates them or not, because he's made those thoughts very clear. They're still relatively thin in that area. Do you think that they could use a new attacker of some kind? Do you think they should bring in someone to replace the likes of Raheem Sterling and Gabriel Jesus, perhaps a left back to replace Alexander Zinchenko, or do you think Manchester City have done the right thing and haven't moved for anyone yet?
I think they've done the right thing. Maybe there's a case for the left back, but I think the attackers that they have now and the fit that they have is better than last year. I still think the best City side I've ever seen was the City Centurion season with Sané and all those players and Aguero. For me, this year going in with Holland, and you have all those creative players around them, and they just look solid everywhere to me. I think this is the strongest City side I've seen since the Centurion season. I think they're stronger than last year already. I yeah, so I'm scared of Man City. I think they're gonna do bits this season. I mean, it's probably just gonna be winning the Prem and domestic competitions, but I do think Holland's gonna bring out the best of players like Mahrez, Grealish, Foden. They're all gonna have someone to play to. He's their target man now, and I think it's gonna make a huge difference in what they do.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of those points, but do you think Erling Haaland will fit? And seriously, do you think Haaland will fit into this Pep Guardiola system with this fast, fluid moving system where, of course, we've seen for the past 2 seasons, Manchester City playing without a striker. They played with this false nine system where players are fluid. The nine would, obviously, for those who don't know what a false nine is, a false nine is someone who drifts, whether they drift left or right, or whether they drift back and drop back for the ball and go deep. We've seen on many occasions, Harry Kane doing a similar thing for Tottenham Hotspur. Just an example of a player I can think of, someone who can also create and give you just more of a dimension than just an out-and-out number 9. There are not many of those in the world because football's evolving, and Pep Guardiola's philosophy is moving along with the way football is, in the way that the direction that football is moving into. So do you think Haaland can be able to fit into that? And what about just the loss of just the depth players that Manchester City have or had on their bench? Do you think that will be an issue if they don't have the amount of depth that they've been having for the past seasons, or do you think that's not that great of an issue?
I mean, two things. I think Haaland's going to fit in. I don't think it'll be an issue. I think they can definitely work. They can definitely work with him. I still think he's a very hard worker. I think his movement's really good. If he has to change it up to fit the team, he's the player who's going to do that. Maybe I should look at their roster again. In my memory, I still think of them as very well rounded. I still remember them as having very good players off the bench. Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of praise for City going into the season, so maybe someone else should speak counter me.
All right. Serious thoughts on this before we shift into Liverpool?
Yeah, I think he's gonna fit in. Obviously, didn't have the greatest of games against Liverpool, but when you're fast, big, and powerful like him, the Premier League is not, as hard to adapt to as other players. And I think if he doesn't have a good season this season, he will next season. I think with Pep, he's gonna do just fine. No worries about him.
All right. And next, now, Andre, to you, we look at Liverpool's window. They haven't made many signings. They have signed the likes of Fabio Carvalho from Fulham, young attacking midfielder who's versatile. He can play on the left, he can play on the right, he can play through the middle. £8 million from Fulham, one for the future. Calvin Ramsey from Aberdeen, a very, very good player, a good right back, highly thought of by the Aberdeen supporters for £6.5 million. And of course, the big one, regardless of what people want to think of him already, Darwin Nunez for £85 million and add-ons, which could reach to £100 million from Benfica. Andre, thoughts on this? And then, of course, I've seen all the nicknames already. I've seen the memes. I've seen Darwin Noodles. I've seen Uruguayan Andy Carroll. I've seen Chipotle Andy Carroll. All the nicknames already. Andre, do you think it's a bit harsh already, or do you think he's just having a bit of a rough time adjusting to Liverpool's system, adjusting to a new league, a new surroundings, new environment? Do you think he will be a success at Liverpool?
It's early to say. I do think that the media attention has been like perfect because I like that he's being compared with a lot of the other top striker signings. Like that's exciting, but at the same time, we are jumping the gun a little bit, right, by comparing him with the likes of the other top class strikers in the league. So I actually think it's kind of been perfect. I think it's what he needs. He's been very impressive from what I've seen. He still has to prove himself though, because it could easily fall off. Um, I'm very curious to see how this Liverpool front line is going to adapt, because it's already very different from the start of last season. I mean, it's completely different. Um, so yeah, that's what I'll say. I will say the other signings, Liverpool seem to like plan for the future or plan to sell players a lot with their young recruitment as of late. I think of like the Takumi Minamino signing, and Nathaniel Phillips signing, like all those signings from like Fulham and Aberdeen, they've reminded me of that. Um, so I feel like they're straying away a lot from like impact players, and I wonder how long they're going to be able to compete with the top if they keep signing these like mostly young players and like one or two impact players. Because I feel like their squad has not changed a lot in the last couple of seasons. So I'm maybe about to get asked, but yeah, I'm not. I don't. I don't see exactly how exciting these young signings are. Like I don't get it.
That's fair. I mean, as you mentioned, Calvin Ramsey and Fabio Carvalho, these players obviously aren't for the here and now. They're for the future. They're for them to slot into the side and be part of this Liverpool project for years to come. But Jose, quickly over to you. Thoughts on this Darwin Nunez signing? I mean, Liverpool paid a lot of money, £85 million, add-ons to £100 million. I mean, he's
Yeah.
had a fantastic season for Benfica, but before this, no one was really saying, "Oh, Darwin Nunez, Darwin Nunez." Just as far as I know, I do know. I have Sporting fans telling me that he also had good seasons gone by as well. But do you think that he will be able to fit in?
Yeah, I think in the Premier League he'll only be a left winger. I don't think he's a striker in the Premier League. I think he reminds me too much of Lukaku. He's gonna be too inconsistent. He doesn't have the ability in the air yet. Maybe he can get it, but I think he doesn't have it yet. I think he doesn't have the hold up play that a striker needs in the Premier League. I think that he's gonna be it's gonna be very hard for him not to do well in Klopp's team.
I
Because I
I
think
think
he's
that's a
set up
great.
he's set up for a lot of success on the wing.
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree
I
with that.
think a trident of him, someone in the middle, and Salah would be it's gonna be really good. I just think he might need a year. He might get 10 goals this year, and then next year he'll be off to a flyer. But I think he'll need just a season, and then I think he'll be excellent for them.
I think that's a great point. Moving into Chelsea, and seriously, they've made two big signings. First off, the first signing of the brand new tall boy era, a player which Jose greatly rates, Raheem Sterling from Manchester City, £47.5 million with add-ons adding to upwards £50 million. So Manchester City basically getting their money back of what they paid Liverpool back in 2015 for the English winger. And from Napoli, 31-year-old Kalidou Koulibaly, the Senegalese international, for roughly £33 million, add-ons reaching to £40 million, who has a year left on his contract. So they made that move for him. Serious thoughts on Chelsea at the moment, and just not just looking at the window, but Chelsea at the moment, it just doesn't really seem like they have a plan, do they? With the center back targets, I've seen everyone's seen the memes at this point where Barcelona basically owns Chelsea. They've hijacked their deal with Rafinha. They've hijacked their deal with Jules Koundé. So they've lost those two, and now apparently they're looking at the likes of I forgot his name from RB Leipzig, Guardiola. I think that's his name. Wesley Fofana of Leicester as a new center back option. Um, Thoughts on Chelsea and just their dealings overall, and do you think Tuchel has a plan? Do you see Chelsea improving this transfer window, or do you fear for them this season?
Yeah. I think Koulibaly is a great signing. It's a great center half. I think if this was 3, because Koulibaly's been linked to the Premier League for ages. I think he's 31. I still think he's a great center back, but if it was made the signing like 3 years ago, I think it would have been better. But regardless of that, I think he's a great signing. I think Raheem Sterling is also a good signing. I think Raheem Sterling 2 years ago was one of the best wingers in the world. You just had a bad say. Look at me like that, Jose. But he was very good. He was very good 2 years ago. Despite, the one thing about Sterling is he scores. 2 years ago he scored a lot of goals. You can look up the stats. He just always like he's lacking that one thing in front of goal sometimes. Sometimes
Killer
he's
instinct.
clinical. Yeah. But I think he's gonna do well for Chelsea. I think he will. That's only 2 signings though. I think they needed another center back. You have an aging Thiago Silva. You lost your best center back, I'd say Rudiger. Aging back
Christensen as
line.
well.
Yeah, well, he was kind of shit. But I think Koundé, I think that was a loss for sure. In terms of Rafinha, I think Chelsea have enough wingers to say, okay, we lost him, but it's okay. I think they're gonna need more depth to their back line. Yeah, well, thank you, Joe. And that's what I mean in terms of clinicalness. But I fear for them actually. I don't think they're gonna get top 4. At least with the signings right now, I think they'll get 5th. But yeah.
Yeah, you make a good point. As much as Jose does not rate Raheem Sterling, and he's made that very clear in past times, I do think he is a fantastic player. I do think that he has good qualities. I do agree with Sears in the sense that he definitely lacks that killer instinct in front of goal. He's not your goal scoring winger. He's not that kind of player. I think technically he's a good player. He is a lot of great aspects of the footballing game that he has in his arsenal. I mean, we've seen it, whether people want to say it counts or not for England. I mean, he was arguably, was he Manchester City's player of the year in the 2018-19 season, but he had a phenomenal season.
Oh
He's had
yeah.
great seasons for
I mean,
City.
when Sancho gets 18 goals one season, 17 goals the next season, and then 20 goals the next season, then you can talk to me. But in terms of that, I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good stats, along with 10 assists, 11 assists, 6 assists. That's very good.
Let me come in here. Serious just talking out of his arsehole right now. All right, look, I think Sterling is a good player. Don't get me wrong. Sterling, you don't score 20 goals in the Premier League season and not be a good player. Like I can't deny it. He also had a great Euros last year. He did. But I just think he's massively overrated. I don't think he's a player who's ever going to win you the Champions League. I think in the big games he doesn't turn up. He never has. And I don't think he ever will. Trust me, Chelsea will not win the Champions League with him starting on the left wing. Anyways, Koulibaly is an excellent signing. I love that signing. I wish we did that signing along with Lissandro. For 33 million, especially. I think he's going to be good for at least another 3 years.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic business for Chelsea.
Yeah, it is.
Andre, and of course, over to you. Just quick thoughts on Raheem Sterling. Do you agree with Sirius? Do you see eye to eye with myself? Do you agree with Jose? Or do you just have entirely different thoughts on it?
I think Sterling's a quality player, but I think he's going to be very underwhelming at Chelsea. I have very low expectations.
Fair enough. And now next, of course, into myself and Jose's beloved Manchester United. And surprisingly, Manchester United have made some signings, even though much more is needed. We have made signings, Jose. Tiro Malacia of the left back coming in for £50 million. That deal was hijacked. It looked that it was dead and buried that he was going to Lyon, and Manchester United just basically come out of nowhere and hijacked that deal and basically took him right off of Lyon's hands. One could say we pulled a Barcelona and just hijacked Lyon's transfer there. Christian Eriksen on a free transfer from Brentford on a 3-year contract. And of course, the big money signing as we have so far, Lisandro Martinez from Ajax £55 million of add-ons, which could potentially be up to £60 million. Jose, thoughts on each of these signings so far? Do you think each of these signings have been the right signings, and do you think more is needed? Thoughts on this so far?
Well, Malacia I like, but he's also a question mark because we don't really know how he's going to do in the Premier League. I mean, he's coming from the Dutch league. I don't know. I don't know necessarily how well he's going to do. I hope he does really well. Obviously, I like him as a player. I hope he does really well, but I don't know. Ericsson, a lot of people love the signing. I mean, I don't know. I'm like kind of mixed on it. I think it's like he's 30. Is that really who we want to be signing in our midfield? I don't know. I mean, I think he's a great player. I think he's still gonna have a lot to offer for us, but I just don't know if that's really the right player for us to be targeting. We did get him on a free, which is good.
Mhm.
And then Lissandro, I absolutely love. I think he hasn't even played in a professional game for us yet, and he's already one of my favorite players.
He did play yesterday.
He did play yesterday, but yeah. But I love his work rate. I love the kind of player he is. I love that he's mobile. I love that he can whip out a roulette and go past the defender. I love that. I love the type of player that he is, and I love that he's tiny and he's still a center back because I think that those players they have to work. They have to work extra hard, which I love, especially next to someone like McGuire, who's 6'4" and still shit. So I think he's going to be an excellent player for us. I think he's the consistent center back that we've needed for a long time. I'm not sure if Varane's going to stay fit this season, so I'm glad we have Lissandro to stay fit for us anyways.
Yeah, I think all these signings have been the right signings. I think with Christian Eriksen, I think that we've lost a lot of players who, say it or not, are more or less experienced veterans. Whether people rated Paul Pogba's time at Manchester United or not, you're losing an experienced player with quality. You're losing the likes of Juan Mata, who has a lot of experience, and Edinson Cavani. So it's not a whole lot of veteran presence, but I think when you bring in the likes of Christian Eriksen, who not only is a veteran himself, he's seen the Premier League, he knows this league very well. Of course, we've all seen how great he has been for Brentford this past 6 months. He's completely changed their fortunes. Everyone knows his time at Tottenham and how utterly phenomenal of a player that he is. I know Andre would know all about that. And I think this is a great signing. I think on a free, he knows Erik ten Hag. He's trained with Ajax, and ten Hag apparently wanted all three of these signings. Obviously, I think the Lissandro signing was due to the Yuri and Timber deal just looking less and less likely. But
I think he's better than Timber. I think he's a better player than Timber.
I think he's different. I think he offers something totally different. I think he's a different kind of center back. The Ajax supporters called him the Butcher of Amsterdam, and for me, hearing that, I'm already falling in love with this player. I think, and watching him yesterday, he looked polished. He looked obviously not the finished article, but he looked very, very sharp. Him and Varane were playing alongside each other, and for me, he outperformed Varane, and I was surprised. But I mean, for me, I think that this signing could be a very good signing. Lisandro Martinez, Malacia, I think this is one for the future. I think Alex Telles will probably go. I've seen links today with loan moves to Porto and Sevilla. I think he'll be the one to go. I think it'll be him and Luke Shaw battling for that position, whether people like Luke Shaw or not. Before we move into Andre's beloved side, I'm going to ask Sirius and Andre thoughts on this Christian Eriksen deal, because obviously there have been mixed reactions to it, as Jose was saying. And of course, before I ask Sirius, commiserations for the Lisandro Martinez, as Man United again pulled to Barcelona and hijacked that deal for Lisandro. He was bound to go to Arsenal, but Man United pulled one out of the bag here. But Sirius, I'll start with you. Do you think Christian Eriksen is a good signing for Manchester United? Do you think this is the right kind of signing for them, especially on a free as well?
Yeah, I think especially on a free, it's a great signing. I think at Tottenham he was really good. I think it's a good signing. I didn't get to see the game, but I heard he was very good yesterday. I think it's a good signing. Maybe some competition. What?
He did play well yesterday.
Ever. I think some good competition for maybe Bruno, just depending where he plays, because Ericsson has played at Tottenham. I think he played like left wing once in a while, attacking mid, center mid. So I think he's kind of versatile. But I think if he doesn't start, he provides a great option off the bench for sure. And for free, I think it's a great signing. I think it was a good signing by Man U.
100%. And of course, lastly, Andre, thoughts on this Christian Eriksen signing? I know I've asked you before, just outside the chat, but just for the viewers, just thoughts on this Christian Eriksen signing. Of course, if anyone knows the qualities of Christian Eriksen, it's this guy right here. Andre know more than any of us. So do you think this Eriksen signing is the right sort of signing? And what do you think he could offer to this Manchester United side that are in a massive, massive structured rebuild?
It's a tough one for me. My head tells me that it's not gonna be a fairy tale. It's not gonna work out perfectly. On the other hand, he has looked very revitalized since his collapse. Like, he's really had to prove himself in football, and I think since that has happened, I've seen like this new energy or passion for the game around him. So I think this is the best Eriksen that we've seen in a couple of years. I hope he doesn't become a Mata and he's just kind of sitting on the bench for you guys. I hope he is a crucial part of what Den Haag is building there, which I think could happen because they have a very good relationship. So I think personally, I do have a lot of question marks about it, but the attitude from both the club and the player has been really positive, and the manager. So there's definitely hope there. So it could work out, but I think he will end up being like just a very important rotation player. Yeah.
Fair enough. And lastly, of course, before we move into some other spending sprees around the league, Tottenham Hotspur, I think of all the top 6 sides, I think they've had by far the best transfer window, in my honest opinion. Just looking at some of these signings, of course, they've sent even Perisic for a free from Inter, Fraser Forster from Southampton on a free as well, to replace Pierluigi Golini as that number 2 goalkeeper. Yais Bissouma for £30 million from Brighton. Of course, the big one was Richarlison, £60 million from Everton. Clement Lenglet on loan from Barcelona. And the latest of them, Jed Spence from Middlesbrough, £20 million, so the right wing back, whatever you want to call it. But Andre, thoughts on Tottenham's transfer window so far, and what signings for you stand out the most in terms of what gets you off your seat, what has you the most excited in regards to all of these signings that Tottenham have made for this upcoming season?
Yeah, I've been very happy with the transfer window. It's been exciting, and all the signings just happened so quickly that I think as a fan base, we got like almost greedy. Like, we were just waiting for the next one, even though it had only been 3-4 days since the last player, because we knew that this window would be serious. It was been rumored that we were going to drop money for a while. And
I think with Conte, you have to drop money. I think that's just a given.
Yeah, and honestly, our board has worked really well together to get these players to the door. I think the ones that get me most excited are definitely Bissouma. That's going to be exciting. I hope he can be what our midfield has been lacking. I think he's a great option to have. Perisic is going to be really exciting too. I think he's going to bring our attack just levels up. He's a hungry player. I like what he does, and I think we've lacked a Perisic type of player for a really long time. So I'm really excited for him. Lenglet, I don't know too much. Let's see what's going to happen. That's going to be wild. Let's see. Maybe Conte will be the man to get the best out of him. That's going to be an interesting one, because I know Davis is not a big fan of Lenglet, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, we can ask Jose. I mean, obviously, he's watched the Liga the Liga much more than I think any of us do. For Barcelona fans, I think Lenglet back in 2017-18 season, I think that would be a no-brainer. He was one of the most highly tracked center backs in Europe. He had a phenomenal season with Sevilla. I think if we're talking about that Lenglet, I think, yeah, 100% great signing for Tottenham Hotspur. He's just gone downhill, in my opinion. But
Can I tell you?
yeah, for sure.
I think so. Longley, I think obviously you're right. 17, 18, he was excellent. 18, 19, he was excellent as well at Barcelona. He had a great season then. And I think that one of the best ways for him to get back on track is to play under Conte in a back three. I think that that's a very, very good way for. I mean, we've seen a lot of center backs like David Luiz in the past revitalized by a Conte back three, and I think we could see that again. I do want to talk about Perisic really quick. I love that signing. I think he could end up being one of the signings of the season. I think he's going to play very similarly to Marcos Alonso under Conte a few years ago, who had an excellent season under him. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see Tottenham this season. I think they've made really, really good signings.
I agree with that 100%. Sircendo, you love Tottenham very much, but thoughts on Tottenham's window? Do you think they've done well here?
I like the signing of Basuma. I thought Richarlison for 60 million, like, I think that was a bit too much, to be honest. Not that he's a bad player, but 60 million, I don't know about that. In terms of Lenglet, you know, it could be a hit or miss. I think that the signing that I actually like the most is Spence. Like, at least against us. I know Conte said, like, I don't know what Conte said. He was like, it wasn't my decision to sign him, something like that. But I think he's a great player. Against us, he absolutely killed us at right back. He was great for Nottingham Forest. So
last season.
yeah. So, and I watched him in Championship 2 a couple of times. He was great. So that's probably the signing I like the most. Besides that, I think they're still not going to get top 4. That's my opinion.
That's a very interesting take. Anyways, moving into the next segment of our show, just looking at some other Premier League sides and there's some of their spending sprees. We'll look at Leeds United, and I think Leeds have spent more money than any team in the Premier League. When I believe so. When you look at all the other teams in Europe, they spent money on the likes of Tyler Adams or RB Leipzig, American central midfielder, for 20 million pounds, for all the US men, for all of our American national team supporters and viewers. Of course, that's a big one. Of course, he is a Jesse Marsh guy. Brendan Aronson, same thing, 25 million pounds from RB Salzburg. Darko Diaby, from Manchester City, a highly thought of prospect, for 5 million pounds. I think that was part of the Calvin Phillips conditions or whatnot. I'm not sure. Rasmus Christensen, another RB Salzburg guy, for 10 million pounds. Mark Roca from Bayern Munich, 10 million pounds. Luis Cicera, I probably butchered that, which I apologize for, from Feyenoord, for 25 million pounds for the Colombian winger. And Sonny Perkins, promising prospect from West Ham on a free. Just anyone can give their thoughts on this, but do you think Leeds have spent their money well, or do you think they still need more? Anyone can have a go at this one.
I think Leeds are going to go down this season, so I think they're not going to do well. I don't think
predictions.
I don't think these players are going to do very well together yet. At least I think that it's going to be tough for them to also keep these players next season because it's going to be. I just think it's hard when you sign 7 players for them to all gel immediately and play really well.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't rate a lot of these players. I think Tyler Adams is all right, but I don't know. I think Sinisterra is going to flop in the Premier League, to be honest. Mark Rucka didn't do anything at Bayern. Basically hasn't really played for the past few seasons. And now he's coming into the toughest league in the world after the Bundesliga. I don't really rate these signings very much. I think that they're going to struggle this season. All
right. Next, in Nottingham Forest, of course, the headlining signing, Taiwo Awoniyi, from Union Berlin for 17.5 million pounds. He scored 16 goals in all competitions last season. I don't know a whole lot about him, but just to beefing up that strikers department. The center back from Mainz, Musa Niakate, I probably butchered that one as well, 17 million pounds. Nico Williams And here's another Liverpool sale, which just baffles me. I don't know how Liverpool are able to sell squad players or players that haven't played in the Premier League that often, but they always do. They did with Ryan Brewster for £30 million, and they've sold Nico Williams for almost £20 million to Nottingham Forest. Omar Richards for £8 to £10 million if you're including the add-ons from Bayern Munich. Very, very good player, young American player as well. There are two Richards. I think this is the center back Richards, if I'm not wrong, or the left back. I don't know, but it's one of those two. Dean Henderson on loan from Manchester United, and Jesse Lingard on a free transfer. Serious thoughts on Nottingham Forest window so far? Of course, some of these players I don't know a whole lot about. We'll be honest here. I don't know everything in the world. We're all learning. But do you think Nottingham Forest have strengthened in the right areas in terms of some of the familiar players? Do you think these are good players to bring in, or do you think that they need more or should have targeted different players in this?
No, I'm not muted. Okay. No, I don't know. I think the Jesse Lingard signing is good. We saw what he did at West Ham when he actually has an opportunity in a role versus a bunch of competition. I think he's going to do well. I think the signing alongside of Dean Henderson on loan, I think that can help Dean Henderson fight first place at Man U. In terms of the other signings, honestly, like some of them I really don't know. I know Nico Williams. So I think some players with obviously Lingard has a lot of Premier League experience, but I think some players with Premier League experience are going to help. But yeah, I don't think these are bad signings. Whether they stay in the Premier League or not is not guaranteed, but I think they'll have a fighting chance for sure.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Next, Aston Villa, they have definitely splashed the cash, and they're not exactly splashed a whole lot of cash, but they've made some very good signings. I'll start with Ludwig Augustinsson. I think he's a Swedish left back, Swedish Icelandic. I think he's Swedish. Hopefully, I haven't gotten that one wrong, as I've probably gotten a lot of things wrong. On loan from Sevilla, Diego Carlos from Sevilla for £30 million, a Brazilian center back. Philip Coutinho, that loan was turned into a permanent deal for £20 million to Barcelona. They were able to reduce that $40 million by option and sign him for half the price. And Boubacar Kamara, a free transfer, the defensive midfielder, which Manchester United had also been linked with for a little while, from Marseille. Good young player from France. And Robin Olsen as a backup goalkeeper, free transfer from Roma, turning that loan into a permanent deal. Jose, is this good? Is this good business from Villa, or do you think they still need more than this?
Well, Villa are a very mixed bag for me. I think I like obviously the Diego Carlos signing. However, I think he's very much a product of a great system at Sevilla, because I think Lopetegui plays a really good defensive system, and he plays well in it. But I think he's a product of that. So I don't know how good he's going to be. Felipe Coutinho is always a question mark. You don't know if he's going to be the Coutinho from Liverpool or the Coutinho from Barcelona. So I mean, another question mark. Kamara, I like him. I think he's a good player. He was a great player at Marseille. Can he be as good in the Premier League? Probably not. But again, we don't know. I don't know much about Augustinson or Robin Olsen, but those are my thoughts on the three signings. When I was doing, basically to do my predictions this season, I sat down and predicted every single game from every single club halfway through the season. And I was looking at Villa. I couldn't pick out very many games that I thought that they would win. So I ended up having Villa very far down in my table. I don't think they're going to go down, but I think they're going to be like mid. So, I mean, yeah, that's all.
I mean, they have spent a lot of money in the past few seasons. I think, not that it's make or break for Steven Gerrard necessarily, but I think it's a make or break just for Aston Villa as a whole when you look at, because one can't say they haven't been ambitious in terms of the signings that they've made. I mean, they've signed Diego Carlos, they've signed Philip Coutinho, regardless of what you think of him or not. Proven player. They've signed.
I think a club like Nottingham has been smarter with their signings. Whether Villa has spent more, obviously Villa has spent more, but I think that Nottingham Forest was really smart with their signings, signing players like Lingard and Henderson, who are already Premier League proven. You already know pretty much what you're going to get from them if you play them a certain way. But then if you're signing players like Diego Carlos coming from such a great system at Sevilla, coming into Steven Gerrard, who's obviously less experienced. I still rate Gerrard as a manager, but I don't rate him in the same way as Lopetegui. So I just don't know how smart these signings are from Villa.
Fair enough. And lastly, before we move into the next transfers, before we move into the next segment of our show, just covering and going through just a few transfer rumors, just a hit or miss. Newcastle, of course, they have all the money in the world, don't they? Yet they've made only 3 signings. Matt Targett, who was on loan from them last season from Aston Villa, that deal has been turned into a permanent one for £15 million. Nick Pope from Burnley, a fee of £10 million, add-ons to £15 million. Was on the last year of his contract at Burnley. He'll be fighting with Martin Dubravka for that number 1 spot at Newcastle in goal. And the big one, Sven Botman from Lille for £35 million. And Andre, thoughts on these signings? And just when I take a look at these, as Jose was mentioning before, when you think that they spent well with their money, they recruited well, I think this perfectly fits what Jose was just talking about in terms of recruiting the right areas, signing the right players to the right fees. I think this perfectly matches his description of what he was saying about that. But Andre, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think all those 3 players are winners. I think they were all good signings. I do want to comment, like, it does feel like with Villa, it feels like when are you guys going to start competing seriously with the squad like this? Like, it's just, I think their team has improved a lot. They got rid of what's his name, the manager at
Dean Smith.
Norwich now. Was it Dean Smith? Dean Smith. They brought in Gerrard, who's had a great record with the Rangers. For me, the Villa are halfway through the season and they're still in the bottom 5. I would contemplate ridding of Gerrard. For me, it's like if they get the right fit with these players, they can do really well. Jose, do you have Newcastle finishing above Villa?
Well above Villa. Yes.
Fair enough. But thoughts
I
on
think-
the
I think
Newcastle
all 3
deal
of
so far, though?
But that
What?
says something, because Villa for me are kind of further in their development, or they should be, than Newcastle is taking that next
that's
step.
absolutely
They've been
true.
at it a couple of years.
Do you like the looks of Newcastle signings when you look at the likes of Matt Targett, when you look at the likes of Nick Pope, when you look at the likes of Sven Botman? Do you think Newcastle are recruited well here?
Me? Yeah. That's the first thing I said. I think all those players are seriously great winners. I think they've all been linked to top 6, top 8 clubs at some point. So for Newcastle to jump the gun, I think it's good. It's great for their club. It's great for their project.
Like Nick Pope, proven goalkeeper. I think he's in his late 20s or 30. I could be wrong. I don't know his exact age, but he's reaching the prime of his career, because goalkeeper primes are your late 20s, early 30s. It's very different from field players. Whereas field players, your prime's like 26 to 29. That's like your prime age. But he's just hitting his prime now, Nick Pope. A great goalkeeper, England international. And best of all, Newcastle didn't even have to pay English tax. So they definitely got a big W off that one. But I agree with everything you said. Now, moving into the third segment of our show, just a few transfer rumors, whether it's a hit or miss. I'll start off with the first one that's been dragging on since Erik ten Hag was confirmed as the new Manchester United manager. Will this one happen? Frankie de Jong, the man who's been linked with Manchester United all window, Ten Hag's guy, the guy that Erik ten Hag says, I need this player. He is vital to our plans. He is vital to this season. I need this guy. I am desperate for Frankie de Jong. And it just doesn't seem like he has really any alternatives, which is kind of an issue that I have. He has no other backup plan. He's basically banking everything on de Jong, and looking at Barcelona's situation and how they brought in the players that they have and how they need to owe Frankie de Jong roughly £20 million. I think the exact number is like 17 million or something like that. And now Barcelona won't pay it. And they're basically, and you look at what Xavi's been saying, and he's saying, oh, Frankie de Jong's very important. We can play him at center back. I mean, that's kind of disrespectful to Frankie de Jong if you think about it. It's basically just mocking him here. But obviously, Frankie de Jong is resistant. He wants to stay at Barcelona. It's his childhood dream to play for Barcelona. Everyone sort of knows this at this point. But I'll go around to everyone. Jose, I'll start with you. Will Frankie de Jong finally join Manchester United this window, or do you think this is not going to happen?
I don't think it's gonna happen. I think Barcelona have been pulling rabbits out of the hat the whole transfer window. I think they'll do it again for him. I also don't understand the whole center back thing. I think that he obviously gets along well with Xavi. He likes Xavi. Xavi likes him. And I think that if Xavi's saying he's going to come out and play center back, I think he's going to be okay with playing center back. So I think that he'll stay. I don't think that he wants to come. I don't want him because he doesn't want us. So I think there's no point in a player like that. I don't understand all these players saying, well, he's a great player anyway. Well, he doesn't want to play for us. So that's tough. I think we need to look at proper defensive midfielders anyways. I think that we have players like Ericsson who can play his position well enough, at least this year. Yeah, those are my thoughts.
Fair enough. Sirius, what about you?
Yeah, I think
Wonderful. Sirius,
Agreed.
I don't really know what you're thinking here. I don't know what's going on with Sirius's mic, but Andre, I'll quickly go over to you. No worries, Sirius. Thoughts on this Frankie de Jong to Manchester United saga? It's been lasting all.
I don't really care. De Jong is like, I don't know. It's gone long. You said it, so I don't go or don't. I don't care. It's not gonna make a difference. You guys are still finishing sixth. Come on.
I think that Frankie de Jong would be a good signing for you guys.
Do you think this could be likely to happen? Do you think that this will happen? Do you think no? Of course, he'd be a good signing. I think anyone could say he would be.
I mean,
the player that he is, but whether he wants to come here or not, do you think that the signing will get done?
I think that's up to Barca. I think if Barca, I just don't know how Barca's getting all this money. But
I agree.
I can tell you how they're
Spotify.
getting their money.
Tell us, Jose.
Well, they're selling things. So they're basically every time they activate an economic lever,
Oh, that's true.
It means that they're selling rights. So they're selling rights. So some things, for example, that they've sold are they've sold 10% of their television rights to, I don't know who they're selling it to, but they're selling it. So this money is coming in, and then they're also taking out loans with massive interest. So they famously took out a 200 million loan, which means and there's so much interest on that loan that they're going to have to pay back 400 million in a few years. And I don't remember who they're paying it to, but they took out a 200 million euro loan, and they're going to have to pay 400 million euro back in the next few years, depending on their success. So basically, if Barcelona is not successful in the next few years, they're going to be 400 million in debt.
And they're going to be 400 million more in debt than they already
are. Yes.
They're already over like $1 billion in debt right now.
Yes. So they're betting on their own success at the moment.
It's basically make or break for them at this point. Next, Yuri Tielemans. This has been another one for Arsenal all summer. Yuri Tielemans. It's very clear he wants to sign for Arsenal. He's agreed personal terms. The Arsenal haven't really seemed to be making a move. Sirius, do you think this one will happen, or do you think probably not, or do you think Arsenal are just playing the waiting game because he has that 1 year left on his contract, and they're basically just playing a waiting game and a negotiating game with Leicester to try and lowball the fee as much as possible?
I don't know. It's a tough one because I don't know if it's gonna happen, to be honest. I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't know why. I think we definitely have the funds for it. He's young. I feel like him being Belgium could kind of mentor Lokonga, but if it happens, that has to happen soon, I think. But right now it's kind of a standstill. So I don't know if it's gonna happen.
Fair enough. Andre, thoughts on this one?
A peak Tielemans is really quality. I don't know how consistent he is. I I would be interested in seeing him transfer to a big club. Not really Arsenal, but anybody.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Andre, I mean, when we're talking about big clubs, I mean, you're on to talk. But Jose, thoughts on this one?
I like Tielemans a lot. I think he'd be a really good signing for Arsenal. I could see it happening, but not for any money. I think I could see it happening for a free transfer.
Yeah, I think regardless, I think Yuri Tielemans will leave. I think he's made that clear. He's turned down new contracts by Leicester. I think Brendan Rodgers, just in the back of his mind, is in panic mode. I think he is kind of a stress head at the moment. For he knows he will lose an amazing player for nothing if they don't sell him now. If they don't sell him for like a very small price in January, they will lose him. Next, Mark Cucurella, Sirius's guy. Mark Cucurella. For a while, it was to Manchester City, but a Fabrizio Romano report today that Chelsea are butting themselves to the front of this queue, and they're going to try and hijack this bid. Manchester City with bids of, I think it was 25 million, 30 million, and closer to 40 million, but not quite. I think it was with add-ons and whatnot. I think it was 35 with add-ons, was turned down by Brighton, and they said they will not sell for anything less than 50. Do you think Mark Cucurella could go, who has made it clear he wants to leave? He's put in a transfer request. He wants to leave. He only has Manchester City and, as far as we know, a move away from Brighton to a step up in the back of his mind. Do you think he will leave this summer, or do you think Brighton will hold him hostage?
Oh,
Anyone can have a go at this.
Let's go.
I think that while he's a great player, I don't think he's City quality as of yet. And I personally think if it's City versus staying at Brighton, he should stay there, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Andre is nodding his head in agreement. Andre, thoughts on this one? Do you think this one could get done? Do you think he could go to Manchester City or Chelsea? Or do you think Brighton will hold him hostage? You're on mute.
It'd be I just question. I feel like it should be his decision. I don't know what's best for his career. I don't know if he's ready for the next step. I feel like, I mean, he's played one season in the Prem so far?
Yes, he was Brighton's Player of the Year this past season. He's only been in the Premier League for one season.
Yeah, I think he got like, wasn't he like Serie A's best left back one year, or second best left back or something?
La Liga's.
Sorry, La Liga. Something like some. I don't know.
He was more of a left mid when he was in La Liga.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
More like a Marcos Alonso kind of.
Exactly, which is why I think Chelsea should be all over this deal. I think that he'd be perfect competition for Chilwell. If Chilwell's even, I don't even know if Chilwell's fit, but I think he'd be perfect competition for Chilwell on that left wing back position.
I agree. I think this would be a good signing. We have seen him play in a back three for Brighton. Graham Potter has utilized him as a left-sided center back in a back three. We've seen it on many occasions. And times where I thought, no, surely he's playing as a left wing back. We've seen him stationed at that left center back role, so he can play there as well. I think this would be a good signing for Chelsea. Whether he's ready for it, I think that's questionable. Next, Adama Traore. Now, this one's actually very interesting for it. There are numerous clubs interested and linked with Adama Traore. West Ham, Everton. Well, Everton's just linked with everyone. I mean, for Christ's sake, they're linked with Ross Barkley and Michy Batshuayi. So that just kind of says everything you need to know about Everton at the moment. But Adama Traore didn't have the best of loan spells at Barcelona. And it seems that in his absence, of course, Pedro Neto returning. You have the likes of Daniel Podence, Hwang Hee-chan, of course, all taking up those roles alongside Raul Jimenez in the attack. Do you think he will leave Wolves this summer? Or do you think that Bruno Lage will Bruno Lage will re-find his role in this Wolves side? What do you think will happen to Adama Traore this summer?
Frankfurt guy was alone. That's crazy. So he's back.
Yep.
That's gonna be
Thoughts on this
cool.
one?
I hope he stays.
Serious thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I should stay.
But the question is, do you think he will stay, or do you think he could be moved on to be for funds in terms of just adding to Wolves' transfer budget? Jose, do you see him moving on this summer, or no?
I mean, I'm not sure if I'm a Premier League club. I'm looking at his past record, the past 2 seasons. He's done nothing. He's gotten like, I think he got like zero goals and like 2 assists last season for
He has
Wolves.
had a pass. He has had.
Yeah,
four passes.
he's kind of had a shocker for 2 years in a row. I'm not sure if I'm another Premier League club, I'm really going to be looking at that and being like, I want him.
Fair enough. Next, Cesar Azpilicueta. It has been well known that he wants to leave, and Barcelona reportedly are interested in signing him, and Marcos Alonso as well. And Marcos Alonso, both of them. Barcelona somehow finding more funds to sign more players. But of course, they already know where those funds are coming from, as Jose explained it from earlier. Do you think Cesar Azpilicueta will leave Chelsea? And do you think Chelsea will sign a center back before, maybe not before the start of the season, but do you think Chelsea will sign a center back before the transfer window closes on September the 1st?
Chelsea could sign a center back. I don't know if Azpilicueta will go to Barca still, considering how many players Barca have sniped from under Chelsea's nose. It wouldn't surprise me if he went to Barca still, because he's a typical shitty Barcelona center back signing. But I would like it if he went, because again, he's a typical shitty Barcelona center back signing.
I don't think Koundé's,
No, Koundé's great. Koundé's great, but Barcelona have had a bit of a track record, Umtiti and Longley of signing.
I think he'd be a
center backs.
right back more than a center back. I think he would play there.
Azpilicueta?
I think.
I hope he plays right back against Vinicius.
Well, I think any Real Madrid fan would hope he plays right back against Vinicius.
Yeah.
Serious thoughts on this one?
He's mid. Yeah, I think he's past his days.
He is past his days.
Do you think he will leave? And also considering the situation that Chelsea are in at the moment, they lack center backs. I mean, for me, in my opinion, I don't think this one will happen, because when you look at
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. Also, because like Azpilicueta has played center back before, and I think that Chelsea, especially Thiago Silva being so injury prone these days, I think it's best if they just keep him, to be honest.
Fair enough. And the last transfer in Wilfried Zaha. Now, this man's been touted to leave Palace for years. He has 1 year left on his contract. Do you think this will finally be the summer where Wilfried Zaha leaves Crystal Palace, or do you think he will stay for at least another year? Andre, I'll ask you this one.
No, bro's staying. He's staying. He's not leaving.
He's got that one right away. Serious, what about you?
Yeah, I'd say he's gonna stay. Yeah, I don't rate him at all.
Interesting, because Arsenal were linked all those years ago to Wilfried Zaha, but of course Emery got a wonderful £72 million player who has definitely been nothing but superb for Arsenal since he's arrived in 2019. Jose, what about you? Do you think he'll leave this summer, or do you think he will stay?
I think he'll stay. I wouldn't put it past him in a year's time going to like a Liverpool on a free and becoming like a kind of like a Shaqiri squad player for them. I feel like that's a realistic opportunity for him. I like him. I think I rate him. I think he's been great for Palace when he's been fit. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. For me, I see him staying as well.
I do think.
Yeah.
I do think we have disrespected Cesar Azpilicueta. I think he's a great player, and I think if he leaves, he significantly weakens Chelsea.
I think he's well past his best, but I agree. I think he will weaken Chelsea tremendously when you look at their center back options. They don't have a whole lot. They don't have a whole lot in their locker at the moment. I think Chalobah could arguably start the season with the likes of Koulibaly and Thiago Silva if Azpilicueta isn't preferred. But I mean, that's just my take on it. But into the next part of our show, just predictions for the season. And I know Jose spent a lot of time with his predictions. First, we will start. Who will we predict will win the Premier League this season? Who are you saying, Jose?
Oh, Man City by a long shot. I think that they'll pretty much block the league this year.
All right. Sears, what about you?
Man City.
Andre, are you saying City as well?
I was gonna say Nottingham Forest. Yeah, City all the way.
Fair enough. If one were to ask me, in my honest opinion, I think if Liverpool had kept Sadio Mane, I think letting go of Mane was a huge mistake because Mane worked very well.
I agree with that.
He worked very well in that system, and I think that football as of right now, it's evolved. It's gone from, and I heard someone saying the other day, and I agree. It used to be so much about individuals, but I think now it's definitely turned into a systems sort of thing where it's if a player can fit into a system is basically the way that a player is judged for if they'd be a good fit into a side or not. And I actually agree with that 100%. But for me, who knows? And I think Mane, he was that guy. I think that trident of Luis Diaz, Mohamed Salah, and Sadio Mane towards the end of this past season worked really well. Obviously, everyone knows how good that trio was when it was Mane, Salah, and Firmino. That trio worked very well for me. I'll be surprised if Nunez starts the season. I think Firmino would be a better shout to start the season than the likes of Darwin Nunez, but he may just need time to adjust. But in terms of who I think will win the league, unfortunately, I most likely Manchester City. I think they just look the polished, finished articles of right now. But that's not to say that they can't slip. That's not to say that Liverpool can't come out of nowhere like they did. You look at this past season, Jose, you and I were saying Chelsea were going to compete for the title. And Chelsea long shot.
That was mostly on the fact that I still thought Lukaku was a good striker last season. And now I know the truth.
Well, before the Premier League, Lukaku was in amazing form, but obviously it just didn't work out. But I think that it will probably be Manchester City. I think Liverpool could very well challenge for the title. I think Liverpool could. I think there's that potential. I think that, but yeah, Manchester City will probably walk it. They'll probably win the league. Now, top four, since we've all agreed that Manchester City is basically going to win, second to fourth, who's going to take the top four? And I'll start with you, Jose.
Okay, so this one I have already leaked in the PLPT chat. My second place prediction is Tottenham Hotspur, because I think that they look really strong. I love Conte, and I think that he's going to do wonders this season for them. After Tottenham, I have Chelsea. I think that Chelsea are going to do okay. I don't think they're really going to be close to Tottenham or City. I think they'll be at least 5 to 10 points off Tottenham. I think that Chelsea are consistent enough, but not consistent enough to beat the big teams. I think that they'll get a lot of draws against big teams, and they might get a draw or a loss occasionally against a small team, which will keep them down in third. I'm going to go Liverpool for fourth, just because I think that early on their title hopes are going to kind of drop off, and then they're going to start focusing on other things like the Champions League, FA Cup, EFL Cup. I think that the Sadio Mane signing is going to be tough because a lot of times in past seasons we've seen Salah come in waves. So we've seen Salah like score a lot of goals in the first half of the season, and then in the second half of the season he just drops off entirely, and Mane has to step in. And they don't have Mane anymore, and I don't think that, like what I've said before, Nunez, I don't think he's going to be Mane's level yet. He might be soon, but I don't think this season he will be yet. So that's why I have them fourth.
Fair enough. Sirius, who are your top four? Or who do you think will be second, third, and fourth?
All right, well, Tottenham's not getting close to second. I laughed my anus off at that. It's gonna be Liverpool second, Arsenal third, and Man U fourth. No. And everyone thinks
Oh
it's
my
gonna be
god.
top four.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm gonna have a feeling.
No. Save that, because at the end of the season, I'm gonna be right. Maybe not
Manchester
right.
United finished fourth. That's interesting.
Maybe not about the Man U pick, but that's what I think.
Okay, that's fair enough. Everyone has their own difference of opinion, or regardless
Shut
of
up, Daveye.
whether I agree with it or not. Regardless of whether I agree with it or not, or if I see eye to eye to it or not. But no, it's an interesting take. I think if Shannon strengthen in those areas that need strengthening, I think they could challenge. I think they could be back in the very well be back in the Champions League next season, whether it is through the Europa League or the top four. But who knows? Who knows what will happen? Because no one ever saw Liverpool challenging for the Premier League up until I'd say, February when they got the likes of Luis Diaz in. So you never know. No one would have predicted that. If one were to ask us, or if one were to tell us to time travel back to start of season 2 and say Lukaku was going to have an awful season, I think we'd all be like, are you joking? Have you not seen him for the past 2 seasons? So you don't know. No one ever knows. Anything can happen in football. Andre, what about you?
Yeah, I think it'll City, Spurs, Liverpool, Arsenal, probably in that order. I think we'll be the 4.
All right. And if one were to ask me, I think Manchester City will probably finish first. Liverpool will probably edge it out in second. I think Tottenham will finish third. I think Chelsea will drop out of the top 4. I'm not entirely convinced by Chelsea as of right now. Things can change.
I have seen a lot of people who share that opinion.
Things
That
can
Chelsea will drop out.
I think Chelsea it can change.
So
If Chelsea sign a center back, if they sign a midfielder, I think they need a midfielder. I think N'Golo Kante is not that he's dead and he's finished, but I just think, I think they need to find someone to take on or to replace N'Golo Kante at some point. I think Jorginho, I think he's getting towards I think he's 30 now. I think for me, I think the only midfielder I think at Chelsea I would take a match center right now is probably Mateo Kovacic. I like Mateo Kovacic, but I think you need an out-and-out starter. And I think Chelsea are in danger of dropping out of the top 4. And if I'm assuming that this Chelsea squad is the squad that they have and they're going to go with for the new season, I think that they could drop out. I think Arsenal could finish 4th above Chelsea, but who knows? I mean, Arsenal are in the top 4 for a lot last season. And, Tottenham and Newcastle happened. So, you never know. Next. 5th through 7th, who do you think will get the other 3 European places? Unfortunately, yes, Europa League actually matters now. So 5th through 7th, Sirius, we'll start with you.
5th will be Chelsea, 6th will be Tottenham, and 7th will be I don't know, maybe Aston Villa.
Oh my god, dude.
No, it's gonna be right.
Oh my
It's
god.
gonna be right. This is an underrated prediction.
Fair enough. It's fine. As I said, anything can happen in football. Although Jose just does not agree in any way, shape, or form. But Jose, who are you saying gets 5th through 7th?
Okay, so 5th is Man United, and I'm gonna take you through our season. So basically, I think what's gonna happen with us is we're gonna have a good start. I think the game that my prediction weighs heavily on is Man U versus Liverpool.
Oh yeah, that's 30
Which,
of the season.
which I think that we're gonna win. Say it's unrealistic. I think we're gonna win.
No,
And I think that we're gonna have a strong start, and I think that's gonna be the beginning of Liverpool's fall from the title this season. So I think that we'll win that game and we'll have a strong start. But I think at a certain point we'll start getting draws, we'll start getting losses, and I think we'll start focusing on the Europa League. So depending on whether or not we actually focus on the Europa League, I think that we'll finish somewhere between 5th and 7th. If we focus a lot on the Europa League and end up like winning it, I think we'll probably finish like 6th or 7th. But if we don't, I think we'll finish 5th. I would be surprised if we don't focus on the Europa League if we finish lower than 5th, to be honest.
Okay, all right.
And then 6th, I'm gonna go Arsenal, just because I don't like them. I think that they're bad. And then I'm gonna go West Ham in 7th, but it could be West Ham or Newcastle for me.
All right, Andre, what about you? 5th through 7th.
Yeah, I think I'll go Chelsea, United, West Ham. But
Okay.
yeah,
If one were to ask me, who will get 5th through 7th, in my opinion, I think Matchweek will probably get 5th. I don't. It's hard for me to see with this current squad. I think it's a promising squad, but I still think it needs more. It needs more in the midfield. It could arguably need another attacker, but I think that the squad as of right now, I think it's good enough to finish fifth. And if Chelsea have this squad right now, I think they're in danger of finishing sixth. They're very well in danger of finishing sixth. People can say I'm delusional or whatnot, but I'm saying this is the squad we see from Chelsea now going into next season. I think they're in danger of finishing sixth. I think Manchester United looks stronger in preseason, although preseason doesn't mean a whole lot, but it definitely says something or says some sort of picture of how your start of the season will be, because the end of preseason and start of the regular season are basically they're basically a week apart and whatnot, just as per usual, in terms of when preseasons end and when the league starts. So that's my prediction. Seventh, I agree. I think if Newcastle have a good season, they could grab seventh. Wolves, I'll never write Wolves off. Wolves always come out of nowhere to basically save themselves all the time. It could very well be West Ham, although I think they may be at risk from dropping off. No one knows. I think it could be a selection of those teams, to be honest with you. But again, as I've said, you never know. Next, the bottom three. Who will get relegated this season? Jose, I will start with you.
Okay, so my relegation is I have Leeds 18th, Fulham 19th, Bournemouth 20th. I think Fulham and Bournemouth are pretty much nailed on, but I think Leeds are, I don't know. I think the Leeds are, however, the most likely team of the others. I think the others that are going to be in the shout are Villa and Everton.
Yeah. Sirius, what about you?
Yeah, actually, I have the exact same thing. So there's that. I agree as well. I think if Leeds somehow get out of it, it's gonna be honestly Everton. I don't see Everton doing well again, and they lost for Carlson. So, yeah.
All right. Andre, what about you?
There we go. Tough one. I think Fulham's gonna go down. I'll go Leeds. That last one's tough. You know what? Bournemouth. I'll go Bournemouth. They're not. That's like no, they're gonna do well.
But they will not.
They have Scott Parker as a manager.
Why are they
Scott
gonna
Parker
do well?
did all right with
Why are
Fulham
they gonna do well?
when
He
was
did all right in the championship, and then where did they go?
No, saying I think he did okay with, even though they got relegated, but that was bound to happen. But who knows? It'll be interesting to see. But Andre's going.
I personally think he's just a championship manager. I think the Premier League isn't suited for him.
Fair enough. For me, in my opinion, I think Bournemouth will probably go down. Fulham, I think, will most likely go down. I think the three teams, and I don't think any of you have said it so far. I think Everton are definitely in the mix. I do think that Leeds are in the mix, but I think Nottingham Forest could be in the mix as well. Like, I think we look at Brentford and how they just took the lead by storm. I think that it will be difficult it's difficult for any championship team to come up from the championship and do what they've done. You look at when Wolves came up from the championship, they achieved Europa League football in their first season, which was unbelievable.
Well, how about Sheffield United as well? Remember when they had that great season, first season back?
Yep. They almost got European football, and then the next season they finished rock bottom. So you never know. I think Nottingham Forest could very well be in the mix. I think people forget that. I think that they're definitely in the mix. But if I had to choose one of them, I mean, as of right now, I don't know what Nottingham Forest are capable of, and I'll say Nottingham Forest as of right now. I could very well change my mind to Leeds or Everton, but I'll just have a cemented prediction. I think the three teams I've come up could be sent back where they came from the championship, but it could very well be Leeds this season. Next, the dark horse. Who will be the dark horse of the Premier League this season? Who will be the team that will just exceed expectations this season? Sirius, I'll start with you.
Ooh, I'm gonna go with Nottingham Forest.
All right, Jose, what about
Um,
you?
Nottingham Forest is a great shout. I'm thinking between them and Crystal Palace. I think Crystal Palace will do well again. Not sure everyone's predicting. I'm not sure if everyone's predicting that they're going to do well again, but I think that they will do well again.
Fair enough. Andre, what about you?
Yeah, I think I'd go Palace or Newcastle. I think they both look really solid. They're both strong. So maybe one of those sides.
And I'm going to copy Andre and go with those two because those were exactly what I was thinking as well. I think Brentford could do well. I think they need strengthening in their midfield. I think they need to replace Ericsson because they don't really have that creative midfielder that Ericsson was, and he had done so over the last 6 months for Brentford. I think they need someone like that. As Andre was saying at the end of in the season finale of season 2, he was saying that Brentford need to get someone like Ericsson in there. And I believe that they're missing someone, also maybe someone not of that caliber, because it's very difficult to find players for free to have the caliber of Christian Eriksen in them, but someone like that. Next, the biggest disappointment, basically the direct opposite of the dark horse. What team do you think will disappoint massively this season in terms of their own expectations?
I'll go Leicester right off the bat.
I'm going to
Yeah,
just
I
say
think they're
right
going to have
away,
a shit season.
I predicted that in the back of my mind as well. I think Leicester, it just seems like they get not horribly worse, but they just progressively I just see them get worse and worse, just like bit by bit.
I wouldn't be surprised if they have 3 managers this season.
Wow, that's a very bold prediction. I don't think they're going to pull a Watford, but you never know. But Sirius, what about you? Who's your
Yeah, I'm
disappointment?
gonna have to go with Leicester as well.
Andre?
I think Chelsea, Leicester, and Brentford are all shit.
Brentford.
I'll go Leicester.
Why
Yeah.
Brentford?
I agree with that actually.
Yeah.
Why Brentford? That's an interesting shout. Why Brentford?
I feel like Ericsson added a lot to them. I don't know what signings they've made, but that team doesn't look like a Premier League team to me.
I feel like Ericsson really didn't add that much to them, considering
Really?
they were already doing well before he came.
I think
So.
Ericsson. I actually disagree with Sirius. I think that Ericsson added something totally different that the likes of Norgard and Onyeka and Janelt don't, because all three of them, they're rather like defensive minded holding midfielders. There's not any like creative spark, and I think Ericsson added an entirely new dimension to that Brentford midfield. A player that can take the ball, and as we were all saying last season before Ericsson came in, a big problem with Brentford is that they lacked the ability to connect the ball from the midfield to the strikers and to create a whole lot of chances. Although the wing backs of Sergi Canos and Rico Henry were doing a good job putting crosses in the box for Ivan Toney, Brian Mbumo, and Wisa, they just didn't have someone from the midfield that could do that for them. And Ericsson came in and he just established himself right away. So I can see that, but I don't think Brentford's expectations will be as high. I think maybe they'll finish a little lower, but I don't really see them getting relegated, although that's not out of the entire realm of possibility, of course, because anything can happen in football. But yeah, for me, I agree with what Jose was saying before. I think Leicester is I think Leicester is not going to have that great of a season. They haven't done much in the transfer window as far as I can remember. The Golden Boot. Who is going to win the Golden Boot? And I already know who Andre is going to say. So, Andre, who are you saying will win the Golden Boot this season?
Harry Kane.
Yeah, I kind of predicted that one. I think Sirius and I think Sirius and Jose could probably predict that one as well. Sirius, who do you think will win the Golden Boot this season?
I really want to say Gabriel Jesus, but that's not gonna happen. I think Gabriel Jesus will score like around 15 to 17 goals. But if I'm gonna have to pick someone, I think I'm gonna have to go with Salah again. And that's just because he just has such a hot start every time. And I feel like no one's gonna compete with that. I think Harry Kane might be a good shout, but yeah.
Fair enough. Mohamed Salah is never a bad prediction. I mean, he's been consistent for so many years. He had a poor second half of the season, but he's been consistent for so many years. I saw Jose definitely shaking his head, and the likes of Mo Salah. Who do you think will win the Golden Boot? I can read the back of your mind. I can already see you're thinking Raheem Sterling for Golden Boot winner. And who are you saying is going to win the Golden Boot this year?
I have Kane. I think Kane will win it. But I think Salah actually is a bad shot this year because I think he hasn't been good this whole year. He hasn't been good, in my opinion, since 2021 ended.
Fair enough. I think he had a very good season last year up until he came back from AFCON.
Right.
Because
So 2022.
Yeah. So I agree with that entirely. So I mean, for me, if one were to ask me, in my opinion, I think Heung-min Son could win it. I think Son could win it. I think it's criminal how not only Son was excluded from the team of the season. I still can't get over that. I still can't get over that Heung-min Son was not in last year's team of the season, and somehow
Wait,
wasn't
is
given
that-
the Golden outright.
Has it ever happened where a Golden Boot winner is not in the team of the season? Has that ever happened? Ever?
Because
Not sure.
him and Salah were tied with the Golden Boot, but I think that Golden Boot should have just been given to Son because Salah scored many penalties. And I know one's gonna say I'm on to talk for Bruno Fernandes scored a lot of penalties in the 2021 season, blah blah blah. But I mean, in terms of just the Golden Boot, I think it should be those. Just when it comes to deadlock, I think the Premier League should just introduce a rule and say whoever scored the least amount of penalties as well should get the Golden Boot. But penalties aren't easy to take in football, so as we've seen in many international tournaments. I'm not going to mention one. But if one were to ask me, I think it could very well be Kane. It could be Son. It could be either one of them.
For me, it was between them two.
One could even shout Holland for the likes of, because we know City have players that can put crosses in the box. They have the likes of João Cancelo, who, by the way, I just dislike how he has a number 7 shirt. It just doesn't look right to me. Like I don't like how he's a number 7 shirt, and I know Jose was saying the same thing as well.
What's even worse is Lewandowski number 12. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, I'm not a fan of that either.
I don't know how I'm gonna be able to watch any Barcelona games next season.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that one either. But yeah, for me, I think it could be between Harry Kane and Son, but you never know. Anything can happen in football. So, the sack race. Who is going to be the first manager to be sacked? I know all three of you are thinking Patrick Vieira right now. Looking at the beginning of last season.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that was probably a bad shout. But I have two names. I have Lampard and Marsh.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be either of them. I'd probably tip it towards Lampard at the moment. I don't rate him at all.
All right. Sears, what about you?
I'm gonna go Lampard too.
Okay. Andre, what about you?
Yeah, I completely agree with Jose. I feel like with Sean Dyche right there, that's just going to be just tickling Everton the whole time to just pull the plug on the Lampard project. Like he's right, like Dyche right there. So yeah, I'll go Lampard.
I know Andre was heartbroken when he didn't see Sean Dyche at Everton last season.
It's gonna happen.
He's been suggesting that one for a while now, ladies and gentlemen. For me, I completely agree with everyone saying. I think Lampard's in the picture as Frank Lampard, definitely. And for me, he's definitely probably my number one candidate, Jesse Marsh. I think this is going to be an interesting one. I think if Marco Silva and Steve Cooper of Nottingham Forest Steve Cooper's done an incredible job. But I think if those two look as if they're kind of falling apart, and I think both of these teams are going to want, especially Fulham, I think Fulham are going to want to try and stay up the season. I think he could be in the mix as well. They could pull the plug on Marco Silva. They could pull the plug on Steve Cooper, despite how good of a job he's been doing since coming in. I think it was Swansea or Middlesbrough, one of the two sides. I'm not exactly sure. But I mean, for me, for now I'll stick with Lampard. Player of the season.
I mean, the boring answer is KDB, and I think it'll be KDB.
Fair enough. Yeah, we'll go through these quick fire. Andre, what about you?
KDB.
Serious?
Yep.
I'll say De Bruyne. I'll say Son is up there. Bernardo Silva. I'll probably just say a range of those three. Young player of the season. I was saying this before. I think the young player of the season, the Premier League will probably give it to Foden. He's not necessarily who I would go with, or my prediction is, but they'll probably give it to Foden. Serious, we'll start with you.
Saka.
Fair enough. That was who I was thinking of. Jose?
Yeah, I kind of stole your prediction, Daveye, but I'm going to go with Saka as well. I think that he's going to do a lot for Arsenal this season. Definitely more than Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, that's my young player of the season, but I know the Premier League will probably just give it to Foden. Andre, what about you?
Dejan Kulusevski.
Wait, how old is Kulusevski?
I think he's 21.
Oh, okay, because I don't know if he qualified or not, but then again, I remember Martial a few seasons ago. Martial was in the he was in the Young Player of the Year bracket, and I think he was like 24 or something. But anyways, Golden Glove, best goalkeeper of the season. Jose, I'll start with you.
I'm gonna go with Lloris.
Okay. Serious?
I'm probably have to go with did you with Lloris?
Yes.
Well, that's disgusting. I'm gonna have to go with Allison.
Not a bad shot. Andre, what about you?
This is a tough one. What are you going with, David?
For me, I'll probably say between Allison and Hugo Lloris. Knowing Antonio Conte's system, I don't think they'll concede many goals. Knowing Lloris, or knowing Conte in his system.
I know you want to go Lloris, Andre. Just do it.
You biased lad.
It is between those two, though. Those two were the ones that were in my mind, but mainly Alisson. I'll go with my heart. I'll go with Lloris.
Yeah. I'll say one of those two, but for me, I'll probably edge it out to Allison, just because there's always that Premier League bias with Liverpool. And into the last part of our show, just quick fire, just match day predictions for match day 1. Starting off with the first game of the season, Crystal Palace hosting Arsenal. Serious scores predictions for this game. Will we see a Benteke?
Arsenal 3-1.
What?
Arsenal 3-1.
Okay. Jose, what about you?
Well, since I'm prepared, I already have all these games predicted. So I think 2-1 Arsenal.
All right. Andre, what about you?
2-2.
Interesting. I'll say,
I would enjoy a 2-2 greatly.
especially if it's a Benteke burst, I'll fancy that.
A Benteke bicycle kick to equalize in the 90th minute. That's what I'd like to see.
I know that would give Sears a lot of trauma. I'll say 2-1 Arsenal. Next, Fulham hosting Liverpool. Jose, starting with you.
Liverpool 2-0.
Andre,
Liverpool 4-1.
Sears.
3-0 Liverpool.
Yeah, I'll copy Sears. I was gonna say 3-0 Liverpool. Bournemouth hosting Aston Villa. Jose.
1-1.
Okay. Andre.
1-1.
Sears, what about you?
1-1.
I'll be the difference maker here. I'll say 2-1 Villa. I think Villa will edge it. Newcastle hosting Nottingham Forest. Jose.
I think you skipped Leeds Wolves, but it's 1-1.
I'm just going in order of the times, but it doesn't matter. But I guess we'll do Leeds. Let's do Leeds Wolves since you've mentioned it. 1-1, you're saying?
No, I have 1-0 Wolves for that one.
All right. Yeah, we'll just do Leeds Wolves, and then we'll go back to Newcastle Nottingham Forest. Leeds Wolves, Andre.
Oh, Leeds Wolves. Let's go.
Two 2-0 Wolves. You're on mute, bro. But I think he's saying 2-1 Wolves. I think. I could be wrong. Hopefully you're not. But Sirius, what about you?
1-1.
All right, fair enough. I'll say 2-1 Wolves. Andre, if your mic's not working, the
I'm
left
back.
side.
back.
What were you saying? 2? Were you saying 2-0 Wolves?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll say 2-1 Wolves. Now going back to Newcastle, Nottingham Forest. Newcastle hosting Nottingham Forest. Jose, starting with you.
1-1.
Andre, what about you?
1-0 Nottingham.
Okay. Sirius, what about you?
1-0 Nottingham.
I'll say 2-1 Newcastle. I think at home. I think they'll just have the buzz around St. James's Park. That's what I'll say. Tottenham hosting Southampton. I know Jose definitely fancies Southampton on many occasions. Starting with you, Jose.
2-0 Tottenham.
Okay. Andre.
Southampton 1, Tottenham 2.
All right. Sirius, what about you?
Yeah, 2-1 Tottenham.
I'll say 3-0 Tottenham for this one. Everton hosting Chelsea.
Chelsea 3-0.
Okay. Andre.
2-1 Chelsea.
Okay. Sirius.
1-0 Chelsea.
All right. I'll say 2-0 Chelsea for this one. Leicester hosting Brentford.
Brentford 2, Leicester 1.
All right.
I agree.
So all right, Searson, Jose going 2-1 Brentford. And Andre, what are we saying?
I'm gonna go 2 Leicester, Brentford 1.
Fair enough. I'll say. So this is a difficult one. I'll say 1-1. Manchester United hosting Brighton at home. Jose, starting with you.
2-1 United, hesitantly.
Andre, what about you?
We can go United 2-0.
Serious?
1-1.
All right. I mean, after we got demoralized by Brighton last season, I have a new nickname for them, inspired by one of my mates of mine. I called them Brighton Munich because they just morphed into Bayern Munich after in that game at the Amex Stadium.
Well, Brighton is Michael Sheehan's team. He's telling me he has high hopes this season.
Yes. I'll say Manchester United 3, Brighton 1. And of course, the last game, West Ham hosting Manchester City. I'd say that's probably the most exciting game.
Yeah, I think it will be an exciting game. I have City 3, West Ham 2.
Okay. Andre, what about you?
Yeah, I'll go the same.
All right.
2-0 Man City.
Wait, what series?
Ever. 2-0 Man City.
Oh, okay, my bad. Anyways, and there you have it. That is the end of our season opener. I know it was a long one, but of course it's been how many months? It's been like 2 or 3. It's good to be back. It's good to be back. Thank you so much for your time watching this, and let us know in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on the topics that have been in store in this feature of Premier League Primetime in the comments down below? Smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to check out our other platforms on Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and wherever you are watching this in the world. We hope you have an absolutely fantastic day / evening.